can speak about banking theoretically, and ultimate question will be, enna loan dada pullu marle marre. You know, so banking is beautiful, banking is very fine. And then there will be always everyday issues and practical issues. And one of the persons came to me and shared with me question, like, if possible, you answer these questions. Very, very relevant. Before I get into banking, I would like to touch on the importance of the chambers, like we have this Indian Bunch Chamber, particularly during this COVID period. I realized the importance of this group. It's not lobbying for, sometimes lobby gives a negative connotation, but then I think it's for good things. It's very important, particularly when you have such strict regulations around. It's very important to convince the government and regulators on some issues for economic development and for more comforts. So these groups really help. But in our context, actually, it is basically to build the entrepreneurial quality, to give more knowledge to our community people. Community entrepreneurship in our country. For example, we had Marwadis, Sindhis, the Chettiars. Now, as a community, they are the most successful entrepreneur class. So, Bunts are no less, but then they have a great history. Now, if you go back and analyze, there are three things which made a difference to these people, actually. One was capital, definitely. Another was openness. And third was migration. Now, you look at these communities, these are the three things which made a lot of difference for these people to really prosper. Internationally, we have the experience of Jews. So, in India, when we relate to this, actually, even Bunts, actually, that way, we also come in that class, but much later. We don't have that checkered history like Marwadis or Sindhis or Chettiars. So, they are very, very successful entrepreneurs that way. So, in Bunts also, these three things apply again. In banking, actually it started with Mr. A.B. Shetty in 1931 when he founded Vijaya Bank, and from there our company really prospered. And maybe if I had gone to any meeting like this of Bunts Chamber 10 years back, we would have had 10 Bunt general managers of banks sitting here. But we have no one today. But for me, there is no banker here. So I think from being bankers, we moved to maybe the other businesses, more doctors and more engineers. Today we don't have many bankers from our community. Hopefully, maybe in the coming times we'll have many. Anyway, the Vijay Bank doesn't exist today. It got merged because, in public sector, things are changing. And when Mr. Shetty was mentioning about shipping corporation, that is very true for many of the public sector setups today. And the government is doing the right thing, actually, that way, slowly understanding the business challenges and slowly moving out of these businesses. Because as our Honorable PM rightly said, government has no business to be in business. So I think it's right, and gradually I think they are moving out. In banking also, the same thing is slowly happening. It may take time because the compulsions of our country with almost 40-50% of the population still need the financial inclusion and the support which came out particularly during the COVID period. So I think we need this system for some more time, but then the future vision is very clear for the government and the regulators. So when we speak about banking, it's such a vast subject actually, like it is very difficult to really put it within 10-15 minutes and speak about banking. But I think we'll speak about Indian banking, and we should understand, because there are a lot of opportunities. The banking is not that a huge structure with the 10,000 branches with so much of capital requirement and all that. There are many pieces within banking which is very interesting and which is giving real business opportunities. When I meet Adil Shetty of Bank Bazaar, and there are many other people who built businesses within businesses. It feels great that people are really looking at those pieces and building these businesses, which is supporting the banking ultimately. So, how the Indian banking is transforming. 1969, nationalization, and after that it was all social banking till 1991. Because see, every crisis actually is should not be wasted. A crisis should not be wasted. I think the 1991 crisis, actually the then government realized we need a real transformation, where the private sector banks came in, and after that there was real technology adoption and a lot of changes happened from there onwards. Then we had some more crisis, economic cycles in between, and then the next big change came in 2014, because a lot of excesses happened. Actually here, I would like to again touch on Mr. Shetty's point. He is paranoid about debt. Actually, I have seen him. He doesn't borrow. So I will be very happy if he borrows. Actually, but he doesn't borrow. So, but then when you look at businesses, for a equity investor, if you are growing business purely on equity, you are not getting the best return for the investor. The debt equity have to be always managed better, because actually debt looks costlier, but debt is much cheaper than equity. So you need to leverage both actually. So, but then when you miss that balance, this problem happens. So what happened during this 2008 to 2014 period is where there were excesses all around. There was huge capacity building, and a lot of corporates who are no more now, they don't exist today. They're all liquidated or sold, and they went on borrowing. Were they wrong? No. If you go back to 2008, look at the narrative then. There are a lot of study on thermal power requirement. The government was gung-ho on the power requirement of the country, the growth of our country, and they said to go and build. So they gave coal mines, they encouraged people to build thermal plants, and the banks lent very happily. The leverage was too much, because the returns were very high. Actually, the projection of returns were very high, and it looked bankable. Actually, they were not. And then, added to that, the courts came in, and they allowed, actually see, there should be fairness in business. Actually, when the business is not ethical, there is always an end point. And the business is not ethical. You can manage for some time. Maybe some people manage for a decade also, but it falls ultimately. So ethical business is very important. So what happened then was, actually, there were a lot of issues in allotment of mines, the way they got their licenses and all that. Those challenges came in, and then ultimately culminated in over leveraging of the system. And I was quoting about thermal. Now suddenly we saw there was no demand for power. Ultimately the economic slowdown also came in after that. So there was no demand for power. And today to build 1 megawatt capacity of thermal power, we need about 8 crores. And we were not having buyers even at 2 crores per megawatt. We had planned and planned for sale, and there was no one even ready to buy at 2 crore per megawatt. That was the situation we faced post 2014. Today, how the situation changes. Now we ask the industrialist, what is the power cost? There is no, actually, the whole world is facing a power crisis. Many countries are facing power crisis. And the way it is going, actually India will also face a power crisis. Most of these thermal plants maybe again get activated. So these are the cycles how they play out. Why I am quoting this is, the banking actually is very well connected with the economy, and that's why we see these cycles. So when these cycles happen, actually we learn a lot from these. So what was the learning actually? So the government realized that the banking is not that easy. You can't push banking to do the things what they want, and you can't have a healthy banking system. And we are talking of a 5 trillion economy, and last 2 years we have not grown that way, because what we were in 2019-20, we went down, and again maybe by March 22 we'll be in the same position where we were 2 years back. And for 5 trillion we need to double from here, and the banking industry also has to double their size in the next 3-4 years. You look at the kind of growth rate we are looking at. So do we have the capital? Do we have the right risk management? Do we have the capacity to do that? These are the questions in front of us. This is a business opportunity for people. At the same time, big challenge in front of the banking. So the government came with the reforms. So these reforms are playing out now. One way of reforms was the recognition, the resolution, the recapitalization, the 3 R's, which Honorable FM speaks about. And then that transformation is in the making. That's how we lost our Vijaya Bank, we lost our Corporation Bank, we lost our Syndicate Bank, which were the Ratnas of the our coastal region. But then we feel pained that those banks don't exist anymore. But then this is how the reforms are always painful. It is not easy to do reforms. So the government did that. It is biting the bullet. They did that. It was a challenge. And I'm lucky that I was part of this process. When I retire, I can go and write a book on how all these things unveiled and what went behind and how it happened. I'm lucky that these 5 years we are part of this process. Now actually, since I was giving a brief of how these transformations are happening, what the future looks like. Last month, Honorable FM was here for our Indian Bank Association AGM. She again mentioned, looking at us, saying that we want 4 more banks like State Bank of India. The intentions are very clear on the government side. It will be large-sized banks which will survive, not the small ones. But that is not the end game for the small banks. They have to grow in their niche areas, which I will try to touch at the end if I have time when we talk of the future. Before that, since I was asked by Chandrana that you should speak about yourself and the leadership, because maybe it may inspire some people to really take this kind of responsibilities, I'll try to touch on that. See, one great thing we need as a leader is hard work. See, the people sitting here, they may look very cool. And what is going on in their mind, you don't know. They work so hard. They read a lot. They try to continuously update their knowledge. And then, they develop huge capabilities and intuition. See, this is a beautiful word actually, that intuition. But I'll tell you, businessman doesn't succeed without intuition. But that intuition comes with a lot of hard work and wisdom and experience. So it is very important that we need to have good intuition. So it happened with me also. Actually, when we joined the banking system, 86 I joined as agriculture finance officer. Actually, I wanted to be a scientist. I was doing my MSc in microbiology. Biotechnology was a big field then. I was working on biotech. But we all come from middle class. So my father was a teacher and an agriculturist. So he was supporting me. He was comfortable supporting me. But I was feeling that I'm becoming a burden on him, and higher education and all that. Going abroad will be challenging, so maybe family needs me. So I opted to move out of academics to banking. And when I joined the bank, actually suddenly I felt that this is where I belong to. Because as agriculture finance officer, I was working closely with the villages. So I was always passionate about work. I love working. So we used to go to villages. So that time actually dairying was developing. So we built the cooperative societies, we coordinated with the government departments, we bought crossbred cows from various places, financed them, and a lot of villages transformed. There are a lot of flow of milk, and suddenly the ladies have become really economically independent, and I caught hold of the government department to finance, subsidize them and all that. So I slowly started gaining experience as a banker, and luckily for me, a lot of good opportunities came along. And when I was selected to head Union Bank, that was 2017, the most difficult period to head a bank. And that was 1st July 2017, I took charge of Union Bank. Luckily for me, I had 2 months of cushion, because my orders were issued 2 months before. Generally, it doesn't happen nowadays. That time the government was very clear that the orders should be given. So I had 2 months of time, and I had studied Union Bank well. And I knew that the Union Bank balance sheet is very weak, And that was a problem with most of the banks, huge NPAs, no capital, huge provisioning requirements. And the whole of Union Bank believed that we are a strong bank. Just imagine, the organization believes there is no problem and you have enough problem in the book. So that is a challenge for a leader. This is where your intuitions come into play. So, I knew exactly where we stand. And then the government was very strongly thinking that Union Bank can't stand on its own and it is a time it should be merged with some other stronger bank. And I was called and advised that maybe you should look at some of the merging with some stronger bank and all that parallelly going on. So, but then I was very sure this bank has the strength, but then unless you convince your core team that there is a problem, see, the first step in solving any problem is recognizing that there is a problem. Unless you recognize there is a problem, you can't solve a problem. Many of the businessmen go through this. Actually, when the accounts come under stress, the first thing I do is I call them and tell them that please accept that there is a problem. Unless you accept that there is a problem, you can't solve the problem. And many of us go around borrowing and telling stories. No, I will be still able to manage it and all that. No. So you should accept that there is a problem. And I accepted that is a problem, but then how to convince the team? Because the team believes, because they were all telling that Union Bank never incurred loss in the history. See, we are a bank with a vintage of 1990 and almost celebrating 100 years, and the whole core team believes. And in public sector setup, it is not what Mr. Shetty owns. Actually, it's a core government organization with so many unions thrown in. That is a big challenge. So, 1st July I reported, 29th July I was speaking like this in Marriott of Delhi with my core team. And I made a presentation, and that was a 2.5-hour speech with full presentation. I made it to my team. And at the end of all this, they all agreed with me, yes, we have a problem and we'll face it together. I'll tell you. And I put a vision statement in front of them called Vision 2020 then. Okay, we have a problem and I'm here, we will solve it. And then we will not only work on solving the problem, that when you solve the problem, how you will look like in 2020. What are the future business requirements? What is the technology you need? What are the verticals you need? What are the new business you have to look at? So the whole thing has to be planned. It's not only solving a problem, and you should be confident that you will be able to solve the problem. And after that, what? That is the most important thing. So we created this document, and after that we worked to a plan. So as a leader, you always need this vision. This is what Stephen Covey says in 7 Habits. The leader is one who climbs, see, if you are in a forest, you don't know where is the way to go out. Your team is cutting the forest to make the way. And the leader climbs the tallest tree and tells people this is the wrong way. That is what leader is all about. So I think the people who are aspiring to be leaders, you need to develop that intuition, that gut feeling. And once you believe in something, you should be able to take your team along. It is always a team play. It's very important that your team is with you. So if your team is not with you, whatever you do, you can't win. And the same language you should speak. To be a leader, you should be a good storyteller. It's very important that unless you are able to share your story with the people, and the same language is spoken throughout the organization, you will not win. Very, very important. So now again, coming back to Union Bank, from there we started our journey. And now I will not get into every issue, but there are a lot of issues, because there is one more piece to this. Come 2020, the amalgamation was announced, which was never planned. And I was asked to take over Corporation Bank and Andhra Bank. Another big challenge. I'll tell you, there is one thing which won the heart of people, which was done very unknowingly to me. When the merger was announced in Delhi, that day we were all there when the FM made the announcement. Next day, the Union Bank people were visiting Corporation Bank and Andhra Bank. This is, victor's mentality. Suppose, you win a war, what happens? The winning army goes and loots, and you want to put your flag there, saying that I won this. So, Fateh bolte, you want to do that. So, Union Bank people were going to Corporation Bank office, Andhra Bank office, trying to look at their branch, as if we have acquired you. So, this is very, then what happened? Next day morning I was back from Delhi. So I got this feeling from everywhere that people are visiting branches, cutting cakes, and celebrating. Now what happens is you will kill this organization forever. If you do that, because see, today we are a 78,000 strong organization. 78,000 people are working. Half of them come from a corporation in Andhra. And I can't throw out a single person because there's a government mandate. Employment is guaranteed. What would have happened is 50% of the people would have come with a mindset that Union Bank has acquired and we have to work against Union Bank. And that would have killed the organization. So, even in private sector, when they merge, they remove the whole top management. I think the people from private sector are there. But if you keep the top management, it's the biggest killer for amalgamation. And I can't do anything of that sort because I am a government organization. So, what happened is actually like when this news came to me, immediately I called for a video conferencing. And I connected to all my regional offices and zonal offices, Union Bank offices. And I made a speech, very passionate speech, saying that no big brother attitude. We are not acquiring anyone because they are also strong banks in their own capacities. They are good banks. Only because of the size issue and the technology issue, they are being amalgamated with us. Please respect them. No Union Bank person will visit any of their branches till all the process is completed. You can invite them for a cup of tea in newer offices and treat them well. So this half-an-hour speech, somebody recorded. With social media, this is a big risk we carry. Because many times we speak very passionately and it gets recorded somewhere. Since it is a video connectivity, somebody recorded. It went viral. It went viral unknowingly. It was not planned. So it went viral to all Andhra Bank and Corporation Bank, and that made the difference. Today, Andhra Bank and Corporation Bank people accept me as a leader. They very passionately work with me. They always quote that one speech of yours, sir, changed our mind. We knew that we are in safe hands. So, for a lead, why I am quoting this is, it is not that I did a great thing. It came spontaneously to me. There was no one advising me to do that. But as a leader, if you are passionate about what you are doing, you can see what will happen. And that is very important for a leader. Like when Mr. Shetty said about Shipping Corporation of India, I'll tell you what would have happened otherwise. He came to join Shipping Corporation of India. Today he is in a position to buy Shipping Corporation of India. And he decided against it. If you are an emotional person, maybe you would have done that. But then it needs, you should be always firmly on ground. That is where the humility comes to play. Look at the leaders sitting here, the kind of humbleness, the kind of humility. See, the arrogance is the biggest killer for any leader. You need a lot of humility, humbleness to be successful as a leader. So this is what I wanted to share about my journey, banking. Briefly I tried to cover. The transformation is going to happen. Maybe I don't know how much time I have, because you want to hear about economy and how things will happen. I'll try to touch, and maybe after that, because such a vast area, specific questions I'll try to answer. See, we are at a very sweet spot. Next decade belongs to India, no doubt about it. Do we have the banking system to support that? Slightly doubtful. Because we don't have that kind of banking structures to support that kind of growth. That is where the technology comes in. Now, if we are able to adopt technology quickly, maybe in the next 2 years, maybe we'll be able to support the kind of growth we are looking at. Now, what are the transformations happening? Again, the manufacturing is coming back. It is coming back in a big way, maybe in particular sectors now, but it will spread. Technology space, particularly IT space, we were strong and will continue to be strong. Areas like pharma are doing well. Services, yes, we are doing well. The kind of the space, the commercial real estate space, which is being absorbed, because during COVID times, we were talking about work from home. We were thinking, what will happen with our LRD loans? We do a lot of lease rental discounting. And we were thinking that everything will become NPA because they may surrender the premises and go, everything will be work from home and all that. Nothing of that sort happened. Now you look, go to Pune, Bangalore, even Bombay, like companies are booking more and more space. So work from home is gone and everybody is back to office, and maybe one of the friends was mentioning, because work from home has become a challenge because the high attrition is happening. Because if you are working from home, you are working for a Bangalore company or a German company, it doesn't make any difference. So people have more choices. The attrition was high. The companies realized and started calling people back. So otherwise, the attrition was 20%, 30%, and salaries went up. So it's all good. Actually, ultimately, it is sounding good for the economy. So what I'm trying to say is that we are at a very sweet spot. I'll tell you, friends, 2019, actually, economy was not doing well. Pre-COVID, if you look at, we were going down. And we were thinking that how to support, like we were already thinking that maybe another cycle will come, business will fail and all that. After that, COVID hit, total lockdown. And after that, the way we are bouncing back and the reforms which happened, particularly, see, we have seen the government has shown its strength. Particularly, the two things I have to quote. One is on retro tax, another is the AGR dues of telecom companies. Like, what is different from 2011 to 2021 is, 2011 when these kind of challenges came, the government couldn't take any decision. Whereas in 2021, we had a big issue of retro tax. But the government could take a decision. It is not easy because in democracy, you can be challenged, people can say that it's a corrupt practice, you are favoring someone and all that. But government went ahead and took that decision. Again on the telecom, the AGR dues issues, the companies would have collapsed again. It is not only that company collapsing, whole of your digital infrastructure would have failed. Because we are talking of digitization of the country, and this telecom company is going down. We would have suffered, we would have gone back 10 years on the digital infra side. So, but then the government took a decision of, anyway, restructuring the AGR dues and all that. The companies are back to business. So, these decisions of the government is showing the government is concerned about businesses, the government is doing the reforms, and they will not shy away from taking hard decisions when required. So what it goes to prove is we are at a sweet spot, government is supporting, reforms are coming, and industries are being incentivized to do business, and I think we are at a very, very good spot. So I think the bunch entrepreneurs should take it as a challenge and build on that. And then when it comes to banking again, the credit system is going to change. Traditionally, our business models are collateral based. Traditional. The mindset has not yet changed, but it is changing. Now it is going to become cash flow based and data based. There is a big concept called account aggregator which is coming, which is called the OCEN, the Open Credit Enablement System. Now with the GST coming in, I think the way the working capital is going to be financed is going to be different. A lot of technology players are coming in. The data is going to play a big role. For the public sector setup, it will take some time to change their mindset to adapt to the changes. But one thing is sure, if you don't adapt to these changes, as a bank, we may not survive next 3-4 years. There's a whole digitization going on. Now today, in Union Bank, we have a product, up to 50,000 loan. You can apply through your mobile. It's called Mudra loans. And the whole documentation also happens online. And in 30 minutes, money can get credited to your account. We have done it at a trial basis for 50,000 rupees. But as we go along, we will mark the size up and maybe 10 lakh and few crores can go through the system. Because we have so much of fintechs working with us who are supporting us. So this is the way the credit is evolving. So maybe you face challenges today, but then in getting the credit and all that, but it will not be that case. And the banks which cannot adapt to these changes will not survive. So this is going to be data-based economy, and the banking is going to change to technology. So the personalized banking, the collateral-based banking, all going to change. They're all going to change to the data and cash flow-based system. So much of data, the account aggregator concept which is coming in. So where it will enable you, because you will own your data and you will choose where you will share the data. So now we are having the database of only loans. With the account aggregator concept, we will have data about your mutual fund, you will have data about your insurance, we will have data about your savings account, time deposit. So your data will sit at one place. It is called the India Stack. Actually, you must have heard about it. I think I see a lot of young faces who are adopted technology. So these are the things which are like going to play out. So it's all going to be technology, technology and technology. We will look more like a technology company rather than a bank in next 2-3 years. In BKC, I have created a whole lot of digitization department. We are going to spend more than 800 crores on only digitization for the next 2 years. So there are a lot of investment happening, and it's happening in most of the public sector setup. Private sector is already doing it. So these changes are going to come. The economy is going to boom. I have no doubts about it because we interact with almost all sectors in the economy. People come and meet us. There is a lot of investment happening. Maybe the credit growth is not seen at this point of time, but then it will come back. And if you are looking at a 5 trillion economy, whether we'll achieve it in 25 or 27, we don't know. It depends on the kind of growth we'll see next year. But then, when that happens, the banking is also going to double, and all the technology players who are supporting the banking system today, they will be all unicorns. Today we have seen unicorns in many places, but then there will be a lot of unicorns emerging from the banking space, because banks will be only the fund mobilizers and pushing the funds to the required persons, but all the technology players will be in between helping us to do that. That's how I see it. So at this point of time I'll stop because I think we are already late. So we have one more interesting topic to touch on. So I'll stop here, maybe I'll open for questions. The rates may move up, but then we are at least 2-3 years looking at a low interest rate cycle, because the Reserve Bank has put so much of liquidity. And the mistake which people do, because the short-term rates are so low, people try to take a debt because commercial paper or short-term debt at a low rate. But suppose if the interest rate suddenly moves up, they will not be able to refinance the debt. So you have to be very careful, particularly when the interest rates are low, because you carry a big refinance risk. But then I will assure you, the way the Reserve Bank is pushing liquidity to the system, interest rates will remain low for some time, because that will push the growth. Because today, if you look at the housing loan rates, so we offer one of the lowest rates in the system at 6.40. We think that this will push the growth up. So, and at this point of time, the deposit rate is low, because for us the raw material is deposit. If the deposit, as long as the deposit rates remain low, we will not increase the rates for the advances. So at least we can be safe for 1 year. After that, we will see how the inflation plays out. Then maybe if I have to increase my deposit rate, then the lending rates will go up. Let us hope that we are into some good times. Like 80,000 is the valuation of SBI. Can you believe that? Every fourth Indian is banking with SBI. Every fourth housing loan done in this country is SBI. And they open 28,000 savings account per day in SBI YONO. And look at the comparable companies which are coming with high valuations. Somehow, because of the government ownership, the valuations are not there. So every bank is planning its app. Actually, we are also planning our Union DigiNext. That's why my investment is happening, because we were slightly behind the curve, because we are correcting our balance sheets and other things were going on. Now we are very strongly on that. Maybe in another few months we are developing our systems. We will also launch our super app. There is one big national portal coming. We actually built it under the aegis of Indian Bank Association. So any loan, particularly now we are building with the government this thing. So when you apply, there will be initial scrutiny. It will filter and then you can choose which bank to go. Your success rate will be very high. So PSB 59 actually is one portal which is helping us, which has a 50% success rate. So now with this portal, we are looking at maybe 70%, 80% success rate. So that will help the young entrepreneurs to access credit in a more democratic way. So all these super apps, at least from 2-3 banks, will be there by the end of this year.
Hi, good evening, sir. Myself, Kishan Shetty. My question very specific for MSME sector. And I'm sure you have shared this association, and probably this gamut would have been bigger than that. There's a sincere appeal from all sides, sir. So from the business community, we are truly finding it very difficult when we have difficult locations having business operations. Those banks we are already enrolled, they don't have branches there, and some of those checks, even today they are issuing a check and we have a tedious process to encash those instruments. So my sincere appeal, it could be extended from 5 crores to maybe much bigger than, that's my maybe request.
The diversion of funds happened because of the multiple current accounts, and the direction came very clearly. But you are committed to open a collection account. See, thing is, you need to deal with one bank for all your current account or CCOD, the credits and all that. But then you can have current account for on collection basis. That bank which opens that account can't use it for payments and all that. The money has to move to the main account by end of day or next day. So I think operationally, unless you have other intentions, so I think this is good enough. Because ultimately, we need to move to a more ethical system and a cleaner system. There will be some pains. Even GST created a problem. But today we are all adjusted and comfortable with GST. So like that, this also will create a temporary problem, but ultimately we will learn to live with that. So we will help you, but if there is a problem above 5 crores, then that, we can open collection account.
My clarification, even in that, government revenue treasury payment on this non-scheduled bank is a pain because they are not registered there. So even our association, we have taken up the matter with the ministry also, we have written, and they are already saying that every time they will take it. Let's give an example.
I understand that. Yes.
Yeah. So if I custom duty
from IB also we took up this issue.
Yeah, I know. IB also we have written. From the association we have written.
I think that solution may come for particularly the payments, because if you're in a small private sector bank which doesn't have this treasury, so then I think you may have a problem. So that I think hopefully the solution will come.
Is expected. So we will be hopeful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.